we're up here on top of Mount Marcy just waiting for the sun to rise. Day 2 of the Northville Blasted Trail is in the books. Well, life doesn't get much better than this open ridge walk on J Mountain, and we're at the summit of Lower Wolfjaw, our 8th high peak of the day here on the Great Range Traverse. Well, it's 4:30 a.m., heading a big slide today, and it's -4 degrees here at the parking lot. Bushwhacking our way up Green Mountain, and I have to say, the trees are winning this fight today. Well, the sun is shining and the wind is whipping here up on Haystack. Next stop, Saddleback Cliffs. Cock-a-doodle-doo from the summit of Roostercombe. Scarface might be the most underrated hike in the entire park. 60-mile-an-hour winds up on Hurricane. Very fitting, cruising up the Bald Rock slab here on Bald Mountain. Standing up here on the summit of Catamount Mountain, Iroquois, Mount Van Hovenberg, Skylight, Santanoni. You're listening to the 46 of 46 podcast. December 21st, 2020. The official first day of winter. Ah, let it snow. Of course, winter comes quite early here in the ADK, but today was officially winter, and the shortest day of the year, the winter solstice. There was a really good metal band from the early 2000s called Winter Solstice. Great band. Today I was heading out on a hike that some people like to joke is the official mountain to become an Adirondack 46er on, or the 47th high peak, if you will. And it's taller than multiple official high peaks. Though, of course, that's just a joke, and this mountain is definitely not for everybody, but we'll get into that. I was hitting the trail nice and early on this overcast day to kick off the winter hiking season. I was also venturing into the backcountry with an entirely new crew of people that I've never met before. Well, besides for one of them. But when you hike with my buddy Jonathan, hiking with new people is often the case. We all met at the trailhead parking lot at the Adirondack Lodge bright and early. Well, not so much bright, but, early. At 4:45 a.m. for a 5 a.m. start. The mighty McNaughton Mountain was on tap today to kick off the winter season. And it was a doozy. McNaughton Mountain is the 43rd tallest mountain in the Adirondacks and stands higher than multiple official high peaks at 3,983 feet elevation. This peak is extremely remote as it sits almost 8 miles back, nestled between the McIntyre Range and Street and 9. The plan for this 17-mile day with 3,000 feet of gain was to hike past Heart Lake via the Indian Pass Trail to the Indian Pass Brook, then cross over the brook onto the Wallface Ponds Trail up to Wallface, and from there, it was a bushwhack up to the summit. Since there's no official trail or even a herd path to the summit of McNaughton, it requires navigational and bushwhacking skills to make it to the wooden summit sign that sits on top this small summit ledge. It's a mountain you're going to earn start to finish. So today I was hiking with some new friends, Olivia, Troy, Sam, and then a familiar hiking partner, Mr. Jonathan Zaharik. So in typical fashion, Sam, Troy, and myself, we were all at the Adirondack Lodge parking lot getting ready to set sail around 4:45 a.m., ready for the 5 a.m. start. And then 5 a.m. passed. And then a few minutes later, here comes Jonathan pulling into the parking lot, fashionably late as usual. But it's all right. He did end up basically breaking trail the entire way up McNaughton, so I'll let it pass. Once he pulled in, we all said our hellos, clicked on our headlamps, and started walking towards the Indian Pass Trail, towards Heart Lake and Mount Joe. It is just after 5 a.m. here at the Adirondack Lodge, December 21st, the first day of winter, officially, though it's going to be in the low 30s, so it'll be a pretty nice day out here on the trail. There's quite a few people in the parking lot as well, getting ready for a nice winter hike on this first day of official winter here in the Adirondacks, heading up McNaughton, the 43rd tallest peak in the Adirondack Park, and the unofficial 47th high peak, as they say. Should be a good day. It's going to be very wet up there. There's a bit of bushwhacking to get to the summit. We're going to enjoy a nice winter day, though. 15 miles, basically, about 3,000 feet of gain, so not a huge day, but we'll be working for the whole thing. Got a whole group of us today. The morning temperature was 30 degrees and today's high was 35, so it was a very warm start to the official winter hiking season. And gear-wise today, I was wearing a light EMS base layer on bottom, a North Face shell pant that I also wear in the summer, and then a single light long sleeve base layer and Techwick t-shirt on top. My hat stayed in the pack for most of the day, and I wore glove liners, along with my usual Vask Snow Bourbon 2 hiking boots. Big fan of those boots. We didn't bring our snowshoes today, based on Troy's recommendation, since he had been out and about the entire week and there wasn't enough snow in the 80K to warrant them. And fortunately, we definitely didn't need them. Just micro spikes. Oh, and I wore my Catula micro spikes today. So we're just making our way around Heart Lake, just past the Mount Joe trailhead, cruising around Heart Lake to our left, along all the nice boulders. Almost at the trail junction for Street and Nye, which we will turn left onto the Indian Pass Brook Trail around Heart Lake, where we will head towards McNaughton and skirt our way between the McIntyre Range on our left and Street and Nye up to the right, over towards Wallface and the Wallface Ponds, and ultimately Macnaughton. Not a lot of snow on the ground. We've had a little bit of a dusting last night, but probably about an inch or two of snow. It's very wintry, but just micro spikes is all we need. And we're at the trailhead sign-in. But after we left the parking lot, we hiked over to Heart Lake, past the trail for one of my all-time favorites, good old Mount Joe, and then on towards the next checkpoint, the trail sign-in register just before the Street and Nye trail split along Heart Lake. After signing in at the register, we carried on down the dark trail along the north side of Heart Lake, and just over half a mile after leaving our cars, we came to the trail split for High Peaks Street and Nye. All right, here we go, on to new territory for me, since I had never hiked this trail past Street and Nye. The woods were quiet and still on this warm winter day, as Olivia led the pack here with Sam directly behind her, Jonathan in the middle, then Troy was next on the train, and yours truly was the caboose, all the way in the back. And this was actually the largest group that I've ever hiked with, 5 people in total. Just cruising along in the woods right now on this nice flat approach. The trail is covered in snow, but not a ton still back here, a little more powder. But the boulders and the rocks are still very much present as we hop from one to the other. But we have 3.5 miles before we bang a right up to the Wallface Ponds. So just a nice cruise to start the morning. Sun is not up. No sign of first light yet. But just a lovely start to the day. Heading towards Macnaughton. We carried on through the woods, which was a nice mix of leafless hardwood trees and some snow-covered evergreens. And this portion of the hike was your typical Adirondack approach. A warm-up for the day, if you will. Nice and flat. And from the Street and Nye trail split to the Scott's Clearing Lean-To, which was our next checkpoint on the map, that alone was almost 3.5 miles. So it was a decent-sized warm-up. And being that it was still dark and would be for a while with a 7:30 a.m. sunrise, the flat approach with very little elevation gain was a really good way to start the day, and it allowed us to just cruise to begin the morning. And there was nice light conversation here and there amongst the 5 of us as we walked through the snow-covered woods, as the trail snakes in between the McIntyre Range on our left to the southeast and Street and Nye up on our right to the northwest. The trail had a couple inches of snow on it, and the woods were covered in snow, of course, but nothing too crazy, and the trail was very easy to follow, since the Indian Pass Trail, though not the most popular trail, still gets plenty of usage all year long. We have made it to the trail junction for Rocky Falls. which is to our right, and then to our left, Scott's Clearing, 1.5 miles, Indian Ass, as it says on the sign. The P has been scraped off. Indian Pass, 2.8 miles. And the upper work, 7 miles to the left. So onward to the left. I'm going to stop and have a little swig and put some spikes on and delayer and all that good winter stuff. Sticky snow today. And a nice light December snowfall right now. It's a very nice vibe in the woods this morning. Due to traveling for work most of the fall season, and as far as high peaks go, having only hiked Cascade and Porter recently, I was a bit nervous about how my odd knee situation was going to hold up today on this long hike. And if you're new to the podcast, you can check out the episode from the Soda Range on the Nundago Ridge to hear all about that knee fiasco. But anyways, all of my recent hikes that I did go on, I didn't have any issues. So I was confident that today would be good. However, it was a longer mileage, so I still wasn't too sure. And whether or not that debilitating, take your breath away, stupid seeing stars caliber pain would come back to haunt me really deep out into the woods. But you'll have to keep listening to find out. So we hiked along, and since Troy was directly in front of me, I enjoyed some nice conversation getting to know him on a personal level. Since I had followed him on social media for a while and we had conversed occasionally online, so we kind of knew each other. But isn't it odd how we know people, quote unquote, even if we've never actually met them, we just kind of know them via social media, but we think we know them? It's a bizarre concept in today's society. We carried on hiking through the pre-dawn dark woods, over some frozen streams as we could hear the water running underneath the ice, across some snow-covered wooden footbridges, and then in typical Jonathan Zaharik, James Appleton fashion, as often occurs when the two of us hike together, we just started talking about, wait for it, Bigfoot. Classic. It just happens that way. We don't plan on it. It just kind of comes up. And then soon after we got on the Sasquatch subject, what would you know? We made it to the Scott's Clearing lean-to here on the Indian Pass Trail. All right, time for a quick swig and a snack before we leave the Indian Pass Trail and tackle the first large climb of the day as we make our way up towards the Wallface Ponds on the Wallface Ponds Trail. It is 6:48. We are about an hour and 50 into the trip. We've made it 3.8 miles into the Indian Pass lean-to, which is a terrific lean-to. It's held up very well. This would be a really nice camping spot, nice and tucked back here and remote. But now we're going to start doing some climbing shortly here. Taking a quick break, a swig, a little snack, and then we will continue on towards Macnaughton. After we fueled up at the lean-to, it was time to move. And I felt good so far. Knee was good. I was a bit sweatier than I wanted to be, but not too bad. I likely should have hiked today just in my shell pants and kept my base layer bottoms in my backpack, for more emergency's sake, and then also skipped the Techwick t-shirt on top. That probably would have been a little bit better due to the temperatures. Proper layering for winter hiking is a real chess game to avoid the sweat and the cold. With so many elements to consider, from the temperature to the hike duration to how wet will it be, how much wind will there be, what are the snow levels like, how much elevation gain and mileage on the day. There's a lot of changing factors, which is why there's definitely not a one-size-fits-all approach to layering and clothing in the wintertime versus the summer, where you just pop on shorts and a t-shirt. There's a lot more at play in the wintertime. So we left the lean-to and headed west to cross over the mostly frozen Indian Pass Brook and began on the Wallface Ponds Trail. Banging a right, where we could go left and stay on Indian Pass. We're about to go right towards Wallface Ponds. The tough part of the hike is about to begin. And I'm a little sweatier than I want it to be so far at this hour, but that's all right. About to cross the river. All right, the river appears to be nice and frozen. Very nice. The sun is beginning to come up. You can hear the water flowing below the ice. Oh yeah, the water is flowing. A nice, easy river crossing this morning.